In seasons of urgency and reflection, where do you place your hope? Welcome to HisTime365. Today is day 169, and Psalms 70 through 73 points us toward dependence on God and a vision of lasting righteousness. Finding hope amidst despair, understanding Psalms 70 through 73. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the struggles of life, wondering if you're all alone? In our exploration of Psalms 70 through 73, we'll discover the powerful emotions of longing, despair, and ultimately renewed hope. These psalms echo the cries of the heart, reminding us that even in our darkest moments, we can find solace and reassurance in God's presence. Let's start with Psalm 70. This psalm is a poignant plea for help, a heartfelt cry to God. The psalmist begins by asking God to make haste to deliver him. It's a clear expression of urgency and desperation. It's as if he's saying, "I need you now, Lord." He feels overwhelmed by enemies who want to see him fail. Yet, in this turmoil, the psalmist also expresses hope. He calls for those who seek God to rejoice and be glad. Here, we see an example of how even in our toughest times, we can turn our focus to God and encourage others to find joy alongside us. Psalms 70, verse 4. Now, let's move to Psalm 71. This psalm is a beautiful reflection of trust in God throughout life's journey. The psalmist recounts how God has been his refuge since his youth. This speaks to the importance of building a foundation of faith early on, which can carry us through challenging times later in life. He acknowledges the trials he faces, including scorn and abandonment, yet he repeatedly calls on God as his rock and fortress. The imagery here is powerful. It paints a picture of a sturdy fortress amid a raging storm. For many of us, this can resonate in our daily lives. Think about a time when you faced a significant challenge at work. Perhaps a project was failing and you felt isolated. In those moments, remembering God's past faithfulness can provide strength. Just as the psalmist clings to the promise of God's presence, we too can find courage in knowing we're not alone. Next, Psalm 72 presents a prayer for the king, but its themes extend beyond just royal matters. This psalm is a vision of justice, righteousness, and peace. The psalmist speaks of the king's responsibility to defend the poor and needy. It highlights the importance of caring for those who cannot care for themselves. In our modern world, this can be reflected in how we approach issues like social justice. Are we actively looking out for the vulnerable in our communities? Are we using our voices to advocate for those who have been silenced? This psalm also reminds us that true leadership is about serving others, not wielding power for personal gain. As we navigate our roles in our families or workplaces, we can ask ourselves how we can embody this spirit of service. When we choose to uplift those around us, we mirror the heart of God. Finally, we arrive at Psalm 73, which is perhaps one of the most relatable psalms for many today. The psalmist begins with a struggle that many of us experience, the feeling of envy towards the wicked. He observes that those who disregard God seem to flourish, while he feels burdened by his devotion. It's a stark and honest reflection of what we can sometimes feel in our own lives. Have you ever looked at someone else's life? Maybe a colleague who seems to have it all together, or a neighbor who appears to live without any cares, and wondered why you're struggling so much? The psalmist articulates this tension beautifully, expressing his confusion and disillusionment. However, there's a turning point. He enters the sanctuary of God and gains perspective. He realizes that the prosperity of the wicked is fleeting. This moment of clarity is crucial. It emphasizes the importance of seeking God's presence when we're feeling lost. Just as the psalmist found hope and understanding in the sanctuary, we can find peace through prayer, meditation, or simply spending time in nature, reflecting on God's goodness. To tie this all together, we see a consistent theme throughout these psalms. Life can be incredibly challenging and full of despair, but God is always present, providing hope, strength, and a loving reminder that we are never alone. In our modern lives, we can find ourselves caught in the hustle and bustle of this day, consumed by work pressures, family expectations, or financial woes. But just as the psalmist turned to God in their struggles, we can do the same. Whether it's taking a moment at work to pray for clarity, finding ways to support our loved ones in tough times, or seeking justice in our communities, we have the opportunity to embody the spirit of these psalms in our everyday lives. No matter your circumstances, God is your refuge and strength. What personal experiences have shaped your understanding of God as a refuge in difficult times? How can we actively support those in need within our communities, as encouraged in Psalm 72? In what ways can we remind ourselves to seek God's presence when we feel overwhelmed by life's challenges, as seen in Psalm 73?
Thanks so much for joining me today for HisTime365. Remember, today's reading is Psalms 70 through 73, so be sure to spend some time with those verses during your quiet time. Tomorrow, we'll be diving into Psalms 74 through 76, so feel free to read ahead if you'd like to prepare. If you enjoyed this time together, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so that you never miss a day on this journey. I'll see you back right here tomorrow for day 170. Until then, stay encouraged and thank you for giving God His time today.